Did you watch Bryan Kohberger in court yesterday? Did you notice Bryan Kohberger's jaw clenching and his strange mouth movements? That's what a lot of people noticed.
You have a right to a speedy and public jury trial where
The way Bryan Kohberger swallowed and made strange mouth movements.
4004.
Some of the jaw clenching, honestly, I can relate to. I'm going to play the video and I'll play snippets. People thought maybe he was reacting to certain victims' names.
Alleging that you, on or about November 13, 2022, in Latah County, state of Idaho, did willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, with premeditation and with malice aforethought, kill and murder Zaina Kernodle.
Whatever image of strength and power that Bryan Kohberger was trying to reflect or project yesterday, Monday, May 23rd, 2023, in court during his hearing, his body language gave him away. Kohberger stood silent on May 23rd and Judge entered guilty pleas for him. But a lot of people are wondering what is up with Bryan's strange jaw movements, clenched jaw, the hard swallowing. Once again, the focus is on Bryan's cheeks. I went really close up on some of these videos and I looked at the different portions where you can really see the cheek flinching and the mouth moving. I even looked up, I wondered if that was Bryan's bounding pulse. One time a doctor told me I had a bounding heartbeat, a really strong heartbeat. I don't know if yours is like this, but sometimes my heart beats so strongly, I can feel it down here, more like in my abs. It really pulses. So a bounding pulse is a strong throbbing felt over one of the arteries in the body. It's due to a forceful heartbeat. The arteries take oxygenated blood from the heart to the brain, and that can be felt on either side of the front of the neck, just below the angle of the jaw. I don't know if that's really like a bounding heartbeat up this far in Bryan's face, but it's something. Some people wonder, was he just chewing mint? I don't think that's it. I noticed it during Bryan's prior hearing, but I really noticed it yesterday because we got more time on his face, even though the pool cameras did fly over to the judge and zoom out and in. The times he zoomed in, you could really tell the mouth movements. Is Bryan taking any kind of meds that affect his mouth movements? That could be one thing. It could be a different condition. Or is it stress and fear? I just watched this interview with Kaylee Gonzalez's sister, Olivia. She did not say Bryan's name. She called him an it. And she talked about how small and fearful it looked in the courtroom. Was it when the judge mentioned Bryan's crimes, the victims' names, the date of the crime? Was he reacting to that? We know he spoke pretty strongly in saying, yes, he understood each charge. Bryan even interrupted Judge at one point, just saying yes so often to all those alleged crimes. Yes, I do. His voice was determined and sure, but his movements gave away something. Was it the memories of that night? I went through Twitter and Facebook and people are having a field day over this. Some people, of course, are saying, oh, you're reading into it, but a lot more people are noticing. They're calling for body language experts. One said, I noticed massive jaw clenching when the charges against Zaina were read, allegedly. To be honest, this person wrote, I didn't see much reaction to any of the others. Was it because she fought back? And people noticed the quick little half smiles between Bryan and his attorney at different points. A lot of people are saying Bryan reacted to different reading of different names. They're saying moving his mouth, clenching his jaw, etc. But this one person watched the footage, zoomed in numerous times, and honestly, they just thought he had mint or gum in his mouth. Maybe he was sucking it or moving it around his mouth. The same person said edit, or maybe he was chewing his cheeks if he couldn't have any mint or gum. This person doesn't think Bryan's mouth movements were anything specific to the victims' names being read. I can relate to that clenching of the teeth though. It's a bad habit I need to break. My dentist tells me all the time, my dentist wants me to get a mouth guard. At night, apparently I grind my teeth. I think sometimes I catch myself doing it during the day. So what is it? Is it stress? Am I watching and reading too much true crime? Another person wrote, his face seemed so tense as they read the charges. His jaw muscle kept tensing. He looked up each time. Another person said they're stunned by Kohberger's body language. Not an expert, but they were riveted by his dry mouth, his tongue protrusions. I don't know if I caught that. I did see from this angle we saw, I don't know if he was doing something with his mouth. It was hard from the angle, and of course the pool camera didn't stay on him the whole time. We wish we could, but I know they have to move around, catch the whole courtroom. But yeah, you could see him doing something with his mouth. Swallows, a generally pallid look. People talked about how pale he is. Of course, he is really pale. Some people really compliment his skin tone, all these Kohberger fans out there. But, he is a vegan. He was eating clean. I'm not sure how clean you can eat in jail, but he was eating clean. And so that does affect your skin. It's sometimes generally healthier glow. But of course, he's, I'm sure, not getting much sun, so he's going to be pale. This person thinks Bryan finally understands the world is starting to cave in on him. Another person asked, did you see the tension in his jaw? Another person said Kohberger looked pale and gaunt as F in his hearing today. His anxiety tick popping his jaw was present again. So they noticed the first time, they noticed the second time. And yeah, it does give you, that's why I edit these videos also, to try and remove the mouth noises because of my, clenching at night. It can cause mouth noises when you're speaking, and I try and chop those out. Someone else noticed Bryan had lots of fast blinking. I'm going to have to look that up too as I edit this video. Jaw clenching. Another person's asking, any insight you can gain from Kohberger during his arraignment hearing today? You could see him clench his jaw when the victims' names were read by the judge. Another person said Kohberger's jaw got really tight and I could see the pulse in his neck when they were being read. So you see pulses. I end up seeing, I don't know if it's a pulse or a muscle or what the heck, but I end up seeing something going on right here in his cheek. Another person wrote, anyone notice Bryan Kohberger's clenching his jaw muscles as the judge read his murder charges? That was what I gained. I like to look at, of course, I'll play the whole thing, so in case you haven't seen his court appearance, just the first one. He was back there for, surprisingly, the other hearings yesterday. If I can find those, maybe I'll pop those in. But, the big one was the first one, where it was his formal reading of charges. It was him standing silent, so he didn't actually stand and say the words, not guilty. So the judge entered those pleas for him, and that's more, legal maneuvering. It's a whole deal where he might be able to, not say that he lied and eventually change his plea and all that stuff if he chooses that route. We'll see, there's a lot more, but the body language really intrigues me too. As I see, it has intrigued a lot of people. I also made what I thought was fair use version of the Dateline NBC on Friday, the killings on King Road. And I made my reaction to it, but YouTube, wouldn't accept it. And so I had to put it over on Spotify video. I'll link to that below. But what do you guys think about what Dateline figured out? I go over it in the other video in depth. I think the main things were those IDs found in Bryan Kohberger's possessions, I believe back in Pennsylvania. They did not belong to any of the victims from King Road. That was surprising. They belonged to two other women. Now, we don't know if these other women, like this Dateline producer, if you follow him on Twitter, he tweets a lot about it and gives us insight. He said he believes, he couldn't confirm, but it was a woman that maybe Bryan Kohberger shared an office with at WSU. That might have been the woman who turned to Bryan and said, oh no, I came home and stuff in my kitchen and bathroom were moved around, and Bryan is like, oh, save the day, I'll install video surveillance in your apartment. That may have been the same woman. We don't know if that's her ID though. Some people are speculating maybe that was one of the IDs he had. We don't know, but it may have been. And he was probably spying on her under that surveillance stuff. And also, this Dateline producer tweeted, we're told that law enforcement agents surveilling Bryan Kohberger in Pennsylvania almost ran their car into him one night. Bryan was walking by the side of the road, wearing gloves, carrying his trash to a neighbor's trash can. It was 4 a.m. And of course, the big revelation was that one of Bryan's sisters, we don't know which one, figured out was probably Bryan, who was the Idaho 4 suspect well before he was arrested, because she noticed he was weirdly wearing latex gloves at inappropriate times. So you know your big sisters are going to find out the deal. But when she brought it up pretty loudly to other family members, Bryan's dad would not believe it. So I understand he probably didn't want to think of his baby boy that way. Maybe he believes it now. We'll be able to see eventually, as we see more and more of Bryan in court, as we get better views of him. We'll see if these mouth ticks or jaw clenchings continue. Revelation 3:20, one of my favorites. Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If any man hear my voice and open the door, I will come into him and will sup with him, and he with me. What a day it was in court, and just all the emotions of the victims' families, and just the hearing, and the judge telling AP they need to reel it in, and the gag orders and everything. Stay tuned. We'll keep covering the Kohberger case and many more. Thank you.
All rise.
Thanks very much. Please be seated. Good morning, everybody. We have some people on Zoom here too, so hi. Okay, let's get up here, please. Thank you. Okay, we are now on the record in State of Idaho versus Bryan C. Kohberger, CR 29222803. Mr. Kohberger is in the courtroom along with his attorney, Ms. Taylor. I believe also part of the team is Jay Logston and Elisa Massa, who is participating by Zoom, I believe. The state is represented by Mr. Thompson, Latah County Prosecutor's Office, or Prosecuting Attorney. Ms. Jennings is of that office too, Latah County Prosecutor's Office. Also part of that team is Ingrid Beatty and Jeff Nye, both from the Idaho Attorney General's Office. I'm John Judge. If you don't know me, I'm the Latah County District Judge, and I'll be presiding over this case. So, Mr. Kohberger, you've already heard a lot of what I'm going to tell you, your initial appearance, but I'll repeat it to you because it's important, and I want to remind you of these issues. So I'll briefly cover your rights, the charges against you, and the maximum penalties if you are found guilty or if you plead guilty. So I'm going to start with the rights. You have a constitutional right to have an attorney represent you throughout these proceedings. If you cannot afford to hire a lawyer, then one is appointed at public expense. Ms. Taylor and her team have already been appointed, so that's taken care of. You have a right to a speedy and public jury trial where the state would be required to prove every element of each charge against you beyond a reasonable doubt. At that trial, you would have the right to cross-examine the witnesses called against you. That means to see, hear, and question them, to call witnesses to testify for you, and if you choose to testify in your own defense. But you're not required to testify because you also have a right of silence. That right is protected under the Idaho and federal constitutions, so you can remain silent throughout these court proceedings, and that can't be held against you in any way. What you do need to remember, though, is that anything you do say other than to your lawyers could be used against you in a later court proceeding. Do you understand that?
Yes, I do.
Okay, thank you. You also have a right to appeal any final decision of the court. In order to exercise that right, you need to file a notice of appeal within 42 days of that final decision, or that right is waived. Also, if you are not a United States citizen, any finding of guilt in this state could have adverse consequences to your legal status. Do you understand these rights?
Yes.
Any questions about the rights?
No.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Kohberger. So let's go to the indictment. Do you have a copy of the indictment in front of you?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And you see in the heading your name there. Is that your correctly spelled complete name?
Yes, it is.
Is that the correct birth date underneath your name?
Yes.
Are those the correct last 4 digits of your social security number?
Yes.
All right, thank you. All right, I'm going to read you the charges on the indictment, starting with count 1, burglary. That is a felony under Idaho Code Section 18-1401 and 1403. This alleges that you, on or about November 13, 2022, in Latah County, state of Idaho, did unlawfully enter a residence located at 1122 King Road, Moscow, with the intent to commit the felony crime of murder. Count 2, murder in the first degree. That is a felony under Idaho Code Section 18-4001, 4002, 4003, and 4004. This alleges that you, on or about November 13, 2022, in Latah County, state of Idaho, did willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, with premeditation and with malice aforethought, kill and murder Madison Mogan, a human being, by stabbing Madison Mogan, from which she died. Count 3, murder in the first degree, a felony under Idaho Code Section 18-4001, 4002, 4003, and 4004. This alleges that you, on or about November 13, 2022, in Latah County, unlawfully, deliberately, with premeditation and with malice aforethought, kill and murder Kayla Gonzalez, a human being, by stabbing Kayla Gonzalez, from which she died. Count 4, murder in the first degree. That's a felony under Idaho Code Section 18-4001, 4002, 4003, and 4004. Alleging that you, on or about November 13, 2022, in Latah County, state of Idaho, did willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, with premeditation and with malice aforethought, kill and murder Zana Kernodle, excuse me. This is hard, I'm sorry. Zana Kernodle, a human being, by stabbing Zana Kernodle, from which she died. Count 5, murder in the first degree. This is a felony under Idaho Code Section 18-4001, 4002, 4003, and 4004. This alleges that you, on or about November 13, 2022, in Latah County, state of Idaho, did willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, with premeditation and with malice aforethought, kill and murder Ethan Chapin, a human being, by stabbing Ethan Chapin, from which he died. This is signed on May 16, 2023 by the presiding grand juror. So now I'm going to go to the maximum penalties of each charge, starting with count 1, burglary, minimum 1 year, in up to 10 years in imprisonment, fine of up to $50,000 or both fine and imprisonment, restitution for the victim's economic losses resulting from the crime. For counts 2, 3, 4, and 5, murder in the first degree, maximum penalties, life in prison, or the death penalty. Fine of up to $50,000 or both fine and life in prison or the death penalty. Restitution for the victim's economic losses resulting from the crime. Also additional fine of up to $5,000 to be paid directly to the victim's families. If you are found guilty or plead guilty on each charge, and the maximum sentences are imposed consecutively, that means one right after the other, you could be facing 10 years in prison, followed by 4 consecutive life sentences or death penalties, fines of up to $200,000 and $20,000 to be paid directly to the families with any restitution resulting from the crimes. Okay. Kohberger, do you understand the charge in count 1 verbally?
Yes.
Do you understand the maximum penalty?
Yes.
Do you understand the charge in count 2, murder in the first degree?
Yes.
Do you understand the maximum penalty?
Yes.
Do you understand the charge in count 3, murder in the first degree?
Yes.
Do you understand the maximum penalty?
Yes.
Do you understand the charge in count 4, murder in the first degree?
Yes.
Do you understand the maximum penalty?
Yes.
Do you understand the charge in count 5, murder in the
Yes.
first degree? Do you understand the maximum penalty?
Yes.
And Ms. Taylor, is Mr. Kohberger prepared to plead to these charges?
Your Honor, we will be standing silent.
And because Mr. Kohberger is standing silent, I'm going to enter not guilty pleas on each charge, counts 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now, at this juncture, the state has 60 days to give notice of intention to seek the death penalty. And Mr. Kohberger has a constitutional and statutory right to a speedy trial. So let's start with you, Ms. Taylor, and then Mr. Thompson to discuss some scheduling.
Your Honor, we'd ask the court to set this trial at the very outside of the speedy trial, right? We're not prepared to do anything but ask the court to do that today.
Okay. Count it out, and that would be.
I have not counted it out, Your Honor, but I believe it would be about November 22nd of this month. Maybe November, somewhere around there. So I'd ask the court to set it for an October trial date.
How long do you think it'll take to try to case?
My best guess is it would take at least 4 weeks, maybe 6.
So you'd like me to set this for a 6-week trial?
At this point, I would, Your Honor.
And to do so, I will have to get rid of some of the other 3 trials I have, but it's more critical and more important. So, Mr. Thompson, what's your...
Those trial dates are workable to the state judge.
Thank you. 2nd, starting okay, for 6 weeks.
Yes, sir.
Anything else we need to address today, Ms. Miller?
Not with regard to the trial setting.
Anything else?
No.
Thank you. Counselor?
Nothing for the state at this time, Your Honor.
All right. So with that, by the way, I do want to let everybody know, if they don't already know this, that once the grand jury issued the indictment, the preliminary hearing scheduled to start on June 26th was no longer needed and was vacated. So some people are confused about that. So I thank council and the media and the public for your attention and respect. So we are adjourned. Thank you.